Valerio, Facebook means Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp because the company is called Facebook, but you have several platforms and several products. I don't know how you call them, but we discuss the digital world, so e-commerce, communication, social media. You have a unique observatory. And talking about wine and food, what are the trends that you observed in the past few months and that you are observing at a market level? This is a very interesting question because it really goes at the heart of our behavior. So, I mean, people. Taking a step back, we've seen in the past year that as people, we've changed the way we interact with other people. So the digital world became our primary channel at the prime time during the pandemic. So we use it to work, to create, to play with our knowledge. We've seen a particular development of conversations, video calls, one-on-one calls. So we've seen an increase in our instant messaging platforms, so Messenger and WhatsApp. We've seen a growth in the communities. We've seen that the consumers changed because we had maybe more time, we were more curious, so we all learned something, especially on the world of food and wine. There's a great depth of knowledge and of content. So I think one of the keywords was bread making and cooking, and the same goes for the word of wine. What were the effects on Facebook? We've seen a development of the relationship between customers and companies. We do not mean a call center. So we've seen a use of instant messaging. So the relationship between customers and brands via WhatsApp or Messenger. Then we've seen a growth of communities. So the depth of knowledge of a brand, we've discussed packaging, environmentalism, so all different aspects of the value chain. And this was discussed thoroughly in the communities. So some companies could really take part to the conversation, adding value and contribution. So they added value to a conversation and enriching an experience. The third aspect was e-commerce. So we've seen strong acceleration. One of the most interesting data that we can share is the growth of e-commerce in Italy. We went from 7 to 20% in the past 2 years, 10 years. So from 2010 to January 2020, we went from 7 to 20, so plus 13%. The share of e-commerce in Italy increased by other 13 points, so 33% from January 2020 to May 2020. So we've seen an acceleration that we did not expect. We probably became aligned with Northern Europe, where e-commerce is more consolidated. But we have to think about this fact. Another interesting aspect was the behavior of consumers. So looking at data, 1 person out of 2 spent more in e-commerce, and that's, of course, is easy to understand. 6 people out of 10 bought from new websites. So we used new website. We've experienced new opportunities. So companies came into contact with new customers, new ambassadors, new people who can bring business to the company. So food and wine is absolutely focused on export. How can the companies leverage the world of digital to increase their export, which is the area everyone wants to grow and expand? We live in a globalized world, so this is a plus for us in terms of communication and interaction. We all love to meet, chat, and interact with people who are abroad. The world of Facebook wants to bring the same concept into the world of business, so the simplicity for the creation of scalable platform that can work in several countries. So for the companies who want to export, we help them managing the Italian account, and we can help them in more than one country because nowadays it is easier, it is more immediate. So food and wine have quite restrictive legislation, but we see that this trend is growing. So we have to understand that we accelerated on e-commerce in Italy, and this acceleration caused us to run a lot because Italians are very good at running, but we have to plan ahead. So e-commerce cannot be an asset for sale or for business that stands alone. It needs to be integrated within business strategy. It has to be a part of the industrial plan. Now that we've seen that this channel is useful, we have to build on this and create plans for the medium or long term. Then we have data analysis. So Facebook offers several data that can be used to understand how to better engage with our customers. So segmentation, interest, contents. We have to do that properly. Over the past years, we've invested with Nissen, the International Research Institute, to work on a panel that allows companies to see where their prime time is. Where are the customers? What is the share of customers in each channel? So this panel takes into account digital world, outdoor world, TV world, in order to pull together all data and help companies reaching out to the customers. Maybe they have too high a visibility, so this gave a sense of dispersion. So this tool is crucial in the economy and in the planning of companies. I see. That was very clear. Thank you. So this is very interesting. Do you have an example that you can share about what a wine company, a food company can do through the digital world in order to obtain good results? I have to say that during the pandemic, we've all had concrete experience of business from small and medium enterprises. We've heard about a butcher this morning. We've heard about experiences. For example, I had an experience with my ice cream shop, but I've seen an acceleration from the world of digital. I have a very interesting example because we've discussed the power of brands. So this is something objective. Having a well-known brand allows us to be a step ahead when it comes to positioning and conversions. It was very interesting However, the case of Daruma Sushi, it is sushi chain in Rome. It has 8 shops, 8 restaurants. They planned communication on Facebook, Instagram, and instant messaging to raise awareness on World Sushi Day, which is June 18th. I didn't know that. I discovered that through a few case studies. So there was delivery and e-commerce during the pandemic. And in June, we could bring people into restaurants. So they planned a communication. So they were able to profile the customers through fidelity card, so they could know who already knew them and who hadn't visited Daruma yet. Then they created a teaser activity on World Sushi Day, and then they communicated in a creative way, optimizing communication on Facebook, Instagram, and for the smartphone, because the smartphone is a different channel compared with the usual channels that can be, I don't know, TV or outdoor billboards. So on June 18th, they launched this initiative. So they needed to work on the e-commerce, distribution, and on shops, restaurants. The results were incredible. So they trebled the number of online sales. 25% of those who purchased online were new customers. So they reached out to a new market share. They increased by 70% offline sales, and they reached a ROI of 26. So they spent €1 and had €26 in return. I brought to you this case. So this is a small business, and they have this has all the ingredients that are needed to be successful in a communication campaign. But it was also very effective. So direct contact with the customers, dialogue with the people who already had a fidelity card. They developed this creativity campaign aimed at those who had to buy online or go into a restaurant. Then they had capacity of analysis because they could measure ROI. They could work on the data because new customers are not endpoints. So having an e-commerce is not we reach the goal. It's just the starting point to continue generating revenues and value for our customers. So Daruma was an excellent example. Congratulations to them. So this was very interesting because that could be applied to even bigger companies. Okay, that was very interesting. Thank you very much. I think we will talk about digital in the future. Thank you for providing us with this very interesting case study.